Hello, Academy students. This is Mr. Quick. Sorry I can't be with you today, but I am off at the state speech tournament. So go ponies. I hope you have a good day today with your substitute teacher. This is something new for me to do a lesson like this, so I hope you bear with me. And we should get through this pretty easily. You're going to have a lot to do today. Let's start, though, with the poem of the day. So go ahead and pause this for a moment while you get your book out and you turn to page 222, where we will read Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. Wild Geese, Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. That is a good poem for today. Why don't you pause again and put your book away? Our second item today. I have to apologize. We're going to have to postpone the debates. They were postponed earlier in the week because I was gone on Monday, and here I am gone on Friday again. Not much of a week for Mr. Quick, and testing on Wednesday. I am sorry about that. We'll come up with an alternate, or we'll do this one. I want you all to have good experiences with debating, but we probably just aren't quite ready to do our final debates yet. So I will get back to you on that. I know a lot of you were looking forward to it, and you're probably like, oh, darn. But we will take care of this before the year is out. So now we're going to talk about personal narratives. You remember when you wrote those. The time has come to start to work on them again. They have all been returned to you. Now, a few of you had not turned in, but very few had not turned in your first draft, so you don't have a new one to be working on. But the rest of you, I've read all of your stories, and I've put comments on all of them. And it's time to start thinking about how do you make your story better. Now, I'll tell you one of the problems that I saw, and it came up again and again, probably in well over half of the personal narratives that I read. Despite what we tried to do in the directions, many of you are still confusing conflicts, which you were supposed to write about, with problems, which is what you did write about. Now, conflicts have opposing forces, and you, as the narrator, you have the power to act in some way. You're trying to choose between two things, or two courses of action, or there's something you want, but there's something that stands in the way. You have to think about, and it's important in your story to sort of define what those opposing forces are. Problems are things that just happen to you, and they're out of your control. Many of you ended up writing about problems instead of conflicts. So for a lot of you, what I had to do was look at what you'd written and then try to suggest a way you might find a conflict within it. Let me give you an example of what I mean. If your parents got a divorce, like mine did, you might have to move, and that's a problem. And it's a problem because it wasn't within your power to stop the divorce. You didn't make the decision. All of that sort of happened to you. Now, in that same scenario, if one parent wanted to move to Florida and you were asked where you want to live, you might have a conflict. You could be torn between two choices. So you can certainly find a conflict in there. Sometimes conflicts are just in learning to deal with these problems that have happened to us, and how we struggled with that. That can be a conflict, especially when we have different choices of how we might respond to something. If you break your leg, that's a problem. You weren't trying to break your leg, it was just an accident. That just happens, and it doesn't make for a very good story. What makes for good stories is when you're struggling with something and you struggle for quite a while. Um, think about that. Again, for all of you, I've given suggestions how you might choose to go about your conflicts differently. As you move ahead now, I want you to understand that you may have to change your story quite a bit more to make it sound better. And kind of what I like to tell people is this: don't let facts get in the way of the truth. There's a story you're trying to tell, and it's about a conflict. And maybe there really were 3 or 4 people there that day, but we don't need all 3 or 4 of them in the story. It just makes it harder for us to get at the conflict. So you may have to cut some characters out. You may have to change how old you were, because I don't believe that you were 4 years old when this happened. I think it's a better story if you're 10 years old. I think you have to really free yourself to change your story. It may have started as something that actually happened to you, but now you're sort of changing it to make it work better, and writers do that all the time. Remember, a story is true when we believe it is true. And even if something unbelievable happens to us, we have to make it sound true. So don't be afraid to change your story quite a bit. What you will be graded on or evaluated on when you get to the final draft is how much better did you make your story. Now, I have to add this in too. One thing that I saw in so many of your papers, and it just drives me up the wall: you have to capitalize I when you refer to yourself. Okay? I know that you know this, but you look lazy or foolish when you don't do it. Lazy or foolish. And I don't think any of you are lazy or foolish. I know that this is a result of autocorrecting, but you don't have autocorrect. And fair or not fair, people judge how smart we are by how we use our language. And capitalizing your I, or capitalizing things like the names of people and places and cities and countries and states, all of those things, you learned about that in 3rd grade. So please make sure that you do that as you move onto your final draft. So as you go about improving your personal narrative, here are the things you have to know. You should write a new draft at the bottom of your rough draft, because you will be submitting your first draft and my comments along with the final. We will collect all of our personal narratives into a place where everyone can read them. So remember that when you write. There's going to be like one day a personal narrative reading day, and you'll get to read everybody's personal narratives. Don't put anything in your narrative that you wouldn't want everybody to read. Improved drafts will be collected next Friday. Please do not submit them before then. I just don't think they'll be ready yet. It takes some time, and things have to sit, and you've got to think about the comments that you've received. We'll probably even do a quick peer reviewing round before you turn it in. Thank you so much for watching this cast today. I hope you have a good day and you get some work done. At this time, you can go ahead and work on your personal narratives. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you on Monday.